Jayne and I go back to 1979. We worked at the same company for a number of years. In 1998, we formed our own company. Jayne had been doing something a little bit different, but she came to work for me. We sold those businesses in 2007, and we found ourselves not only retired, but also empty nesters, and realized that all the satisfaction and enjoyment in our life had been tied into the family and the businesses, and now we had to get that satisfaction and enjoyment out of each other. And we weren't used to that. And over the years, we worked very hard. Our marriage was starting to deteriorate, but we didn't really realize it until we got to the point where we had a little time to sit down and think. So we went to a counselor. Counselor tried to teach us how to amicably divorce rather than to save our marriage. And in July 1st, 2010, we divorced. July 23rd, 2010, Jayne left for Uganda.
My trip to Uganda was part of a desire of me to do humanitarian work. I had that yearn for a while, and I wanted to go to Uganda because I had an affinity for that, but I think there was also part of an escape for me. Jim didn't want to share in that aspect of mission, if you will, and so when I got there, I realized I wasn't really prepared for what I was facing, and it wasn't more than 8 weeks before I was brought to my knees, and the situation was so overwhelming that I just found a corner and started praying and asked God to help me to understand what purpose I had being there to begin with. And His purpose was to not only bring me into the Bible, but to help me to recognize what was most important in life, and that wasn't me, it wasn't control, it was Him. So this was part of a conversion process in me that, I wanted to talk about, and so we kind of renewed our conversations over the phone and Skype, and in the course of a few months, this was in October, by January Jim had come over, so we could work on our relationship, and so he could also see Uganda, and I wanted him to experience what I was going through. And I didn't think there was any better way to do that than to be together, because you can't do it well over the phone.
When I got to Uganda, I knew I had some things to work on. I knew we had some things to work on simultaneously if we were going to reconcile ever.
So after I returned, then my fears began to surface of, we reconcile and we're going to go back to the way we were. That fear of going back and reliving those hurts was more than I was ready for. And that brought me to the point of what I'll refer to as my second submission, when I realized that I said I trusted God, but I wasn't really trusting Him. I still wanted to be in control and to have things on my terms, and it wasn't going to work that way. And it was at that point when I realized that, after praying over it, that it really opened the doors for us to have a true reconciliation. And so that was in November of 2011, and we remarried in December of 2012. And our life has just grown in Christ. He's now the center of our home. He's the center of our lives. And we have learned to put everything at His feet. And we've also now enjoyed doing mission work together. So we've been back to Africa twice, and we're not sure where that's going to lead. Because we were thinking that was going to be long-term, but we recently came back from Uganda as an exploratory trip looking at a long-term opportunity, and things revealed themselves differently to us.
Right now, we are working on a project to help establish and fund a agricultural technical college in one of the poorest sections of Uganda.
And the other project is it's really a fledgling orphan ministry that has the opportunity to really recreate itself at this point. And we've seen how God can take the skills and the gifts that we've been given and that He's developed in us, and we can port those. We can take those to Uganda. We can use them from here. We can use them here. And so we've really been praying over where God is asking us to serve. And as much as we think it's Uganda, and as much as we believe that it could be long-term. We've just realized that we need to be open to what His call is, and that our timing and our plan is not His. And that's one of the biggest things I think that we've learned, and especially when it came to the mission, is that, again, were we trying to control it, or were we really listening to Him? And when we returned from Uganda this last time, we had some obstacles that we weren't sure how we were going to deal with. And He's taken care of each one of them. I mean, it's amazing.
It goes back to that submission and trust in God. No matter if we're long-term, short-term, no matter if we're at the orphanage or the school, or no matter if we're in the United States raising funds, it's serving the Lord, and He's going to tell us and show us what He wants us to do, rather than us telling Him what we want to do.
So we've learned to pray, we've learned to listen, and we've learned to be patient. And we've seen, in fact, in reflecting on Hebrews 12, we've seen that by doing that by putting our trust in Him, that we can be confident that whatever happens is to His will and to His plan.